Hello, Internet. Okay, so today we're talking about orchids and orchid care. Now, first and foremost, orchids are the plant, the plant goddess of patience. I don't know what else I would call it. You need heavy patience to love and adopt an orchid because they bloom once, maybe if you're super lucky, twice a year. Now, a lot of people will see these at like, my local chain supers. There's always some for like $2 on their way out. The flowers are dying. A lot of people buy them, take them home, wait for another flower, don't get flowers, throw them out, which is a shame because they will bloom again and they're beautiful when they bloom again. So, I have two that I have kept on by a thread. This guy I was drawn for a little bit. So he needs a little water, a little love, a little care, but this is what their roots look like. I just let them live their best life and go wherever they want. So let's go over some of the basics real quick. Number one, I don't know where the you should put like an ice cube on them and let that water be enough water for the plant and call that just good enough. And they love water. Let's take it back. First of all, for any plant you get, you should always think of like, okay, what in native area is this plant in? And if I'm not mistaken, this is like a tropical plant. So we're thinking humidity, we're thinking heat, we're thinking water, moisture content, all the humidity that it can get, right? If you've gone to Florida, the islands, Hawaii, that kind of environment. So the cold water ice cube drop on the roots, to me feels like the exact opposite of what this plant would natively want, right? So this is my other one. It is about to bloom. I'm very excited. I did not guide it up the pole like I should have as it was growing. I just wanted it to be happy, and I was just happy it was blooming. And also I didn't see it. It was growing behind another plant until I saw like this little end out the back, and I was like, what is that? And I was like, oh, my orchid's blooming. Cool. So what I do is about once a week, sometimes every other week because I forget. So I just take, and this little guy actually needs to be repotted, as you can see. But here's what it looks like. We'll cover the dirt and all that in a second. Those are the roots. They look a little alien. I'm not gonna lie to you. Like, it looks a little alien versus predator. Some people don't like that, but I take it. It sits in this little waterproof container. I fill this thing with honestly purified water that I have from my water purifiers. But I'm pretty sure you could just do regular, depending on where you live and the quality of your water, tap water in here. I just let it sit in here for like 10-20 minutes and then drain. And that's what I do. And I feel like that's working so far because they keep blooming and they keep being happy. Now, they could probably use more water because some of the leaves are like a little droopy and sad, but these top ones are very happy. Now, okay, so sunshine. I've noticed I get a ton of sun and they're happy. They're thrilled. Not always direct sun, but also they don't seem to mind the direct sun too much for me. I live in Denver. We get very intense direct sun. And so far, he is not unhappy about it, this guy's just leaning to the side. That's why he's sitting so weird. I need to undo him and sit him upright. But, so they seem to like sun. They like humidity when you can give it to them. I do have a humidifier. Sometimes I run it, sometimes I don't. Humidity. The dirt, you should buy their dirt when you can. It's sometimes like this. Sometimes you can add like a little moss and stuff to it if you want. I didn't, but there's a lot of dirt that comes pre-fertilized. It will be up to you if you want to buy some specialty orchid dirt, or you can just buy the regular pre-fertilized, but it kind of helps to buy some with a low fertilizer in it so you don't have to do it every so often. Just saves you time, because I think the one I bought is like 3 to 6 months or something. It keeps fertilizing the plant and carries on. Keep in mind, I'm not an absolute orchid pro, but I've gotten them to bloom several times and they haven't died, so I feel like that's really I'm just sharing what I know. So dirt, sunshine, water. I think that's mostly the basics. Fertilize, like, if you don't buy the dirt with the fertilizer, you should let out when to fertilize. I think it's every few months, if I'm not mistaken, to help keep it happy. The roots should be green and beautiful like this. If they are starting to, I have one that got damaged, starting to brown, but you'll see when they start to like rot because they no longer are green and they look like they're starting to just shrivel up. Like sometimes they just get caught at a weird angle and they bend, and then they don't keep sending the nutrients through the shoot, and that is perfectly okay to cut it off. Like here's one right here, right? Like I don't even know if my camera will catch that, but it bent at some point, but it's still continuing to send. Like the rest of it is still green, so there is still some left in there. Now this root right here is starting to die, and it is okay, I have found, to just cut the root, or you can leave it. Like sometimes if aesthetically it doesn't bother you and it's not rotting, if it's starting to rot and get gross and wet and moldy, take it off for sure, because that can cause all kinds of problems in there. The one thing, do not let dirt or water sit in the crown as much, because if you start to like rot the inside of this beautiful crown here, the plant's dead. I lost like 2 that way because I was watering them and then letting the water sit in here. They hate that, because then once it rots down here, it's over. That's its main like little alien based life form. If you can see it down here, like all this old darkness. Sorry, I have like the worst camera ever, so I'm like, can you see this? And you're like, no, I can't. But they're beautiful, so if you ever see them, just know, like, they're very easy to revive. Usually when they're droopy like this guy's just thirsty, so I just need over there, give him a good gulp. If you want, you can always tuck the roots in. I think you can cut them off if they're aesthetically not pretty to you, but I wouldn't cut too many, because then it's just gonna be mad. So that is pretty much it. That is Orchid Care 101, the super basics. You don't need to make it super complicated. Just let them soak. Get them a little sun, get them the dirt they like. Recipe for success. People think these are very complicated plants, and they're not always. Some breeds are a little more complicated and needy than others, but if you see it at your local store, don't be afraid of it. They do not, there's some plants I have found that are much needier than these, so don't be afraid. All right, bye guys.